If you or a loved one is approaching retirement and are looking for a caring community to answer your questions, you are in the right place this morning on KFOR. Every Saturday morning, we offer you the Aging Adventure, brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities. I'm Dale Johnson, joined by John Kopetsky, Executive Director of Legacy Terrace at 5700 Fremont Street, and Kathy Blythe, longtime radio host here on KFOR and longtime advocate for Lincoln seniors. Kathy and John, good morning.
Good morning, Dale.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson.
All right, buckle up, listeners. We cover a lot of ground today on the Aging Adventure. Everything from CBD and Delta 8 products to over-the-counter vitamins and supplements to at-home COVID tests. Our go-to expert is Dr. Alley from the University of Nebraska College of Pharmacy when the Aging Adventure continues in a moment.
It's always a terrific day on the Aging Adventure when we get a chance to visit with our most trusted and wonderful pharmacist, Dr. Alley. And Dr. Alley, good to have you with us. Our first topic today is going to be CBD, maybe a little CBD 101, what it is and what it isn't, and the potential benefits for some people. So take your time and tell our listeners what they most need to know about CBD. And good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you. And thank the fine folks at the Legacy for letting me be a part of this. CBD is actually an abbreviation. It stands for cannabidiol, which is obviously why we call it CBD, because it's hard to wrap your tongue around the big long name. It is one of the cannabinoids found in marijuana. Interestingly, CBD has found its sort of own life since the federal government passed an agriculture bill that was focused on hemp, things that we use to make paper and fabric and rope. Well, since CBD is not psychoactive, it doesn't give you an out-of-body experience. It doesn't give you that weird sensation that goes along. I think that the popular term is still feeling stoned, right? It can't do that. It is one of the cannabinoids that may actually have some significant medical use. We have a prescription CBD product already. It's on the market. We use it to treat children with devastating forms of epilepsy and seizure disorder. So we know a lot about it through the traditional medicine process, right? To get this drug approved on the market, it got treated just like every other prescription drug. What we didn't anticipate, I don't think, was that it would also become a legal over-the-counter drug when this federal hemp act was written. And what we find with CBD is that it is calming. In fact, it can make some people dangerously tired, to the point where we certainly don't want them driving or signing contracts, walking up and down stairways that they're not familiar with, those kinds of things. It has been used to treat chronic pain, often topically. There are CBD creams and ointments that you can rub directly into a painful joint. Not so fabulous on muscle pain. If you pull a muscle doing something, we just got done watching the Winter Olympics, and just watching some of those things made my muscles ache. I didn't have to do them. I just had to watch them. And what we know is that CBD tends to be a bit more useful in joint pains, although It may be useful in muscle spasms, like we see sadly with multiple sclerosis and those kinds of things. It is available if you can think of a way to take it, somebody probably makes it that way. It's available in gummies, and it's available in creams and in ointments. There is an elixir, little bit difficult to use because it really doesn't taste good, and you have to mix it with something. And when drugs get too complicated, no one is real successful using them. Interestingly, pharmacists are learning to ask about, are you using any CBD product? Not that we are passing judgment. We tend not to do that. But we have discovered that cannabidiol, CBD, has the same kinds of drug interactions as grapefruit. And for years, Kathy, we have been talking about grapefruit interactions. Mm-hmm. If you are taking a drug that changes the way your blood clots, if you are taking a drug that changes the way your heart beats, if you are taking a drug to treat depression or bipolar disease, if you are taking a routine antihistamine for chronic allergies, and the drug advertises that it won't make you tired or it causes less tired, when you mix all of those with CBD, you can get into trouble. I think there's 157 individually identified drugs. So when a pharmacist asks, just answer. We are looking for drug-to-drug interactions, and we can't find them if we don't know that the drug is there. But yeah, it may actually have some benefit in helping people sleep, and it may have some benefit in pain management, and we know that it has benefit in seizure disorder.
Remember when they first started opening in Nebraska and everybody went crazy and thought it was, there were some that had their products seized out in western Nebraska and got arrested, and it was a whole big thing. And now it's just gone completely. I think you can even buy it at the gas station.
Yeah, I think that part of the issue came from, how do you read this federal bill, and was it intended? And I think it took a couple of lawsuits and a whole bunch of lawyers reading exactly the same thing to decide, well, this isn't a thing. Let's let people sell it. But yeah, I remember very clearly, mother and son, if I'm remembering right, in western Nebraska, the state attorney general weighed in, and now it seems to not be an issue, other than it's still a drug, and we got to watch out for those drug-to-drug interactions, and we don't want people who use CBD to drive immediately after using it. They're just going to make bad decisions.
In fact, wasn't there a situation here in Lincoln where a store that sold CBD, the police finally put out a news release, this was in the last 6 months or so, that said, quit calling us. It's a legal store. They're not selling anything illegal there. Yes, they can be open. So a lot of misconceptions out there about CBD and what it is and what it isn't.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the fact that it comes from the marijuana plant just makes it all the more complicated. If it was something that we squeezed out of a turnip, I think there would be a whole lot less calls to the Lincoln police force, but that isn't where it comes from.
We'll continue our discussion of CBD and check out what Delta 8 is with Dr. Alley when we return. You're listening to The Aging Adventure on KFOR, brought to you by Legacy Retirement Communities.
Welcome back to The Aging Adventure, brought to you by the Legacy Retirement Communities. John Kopetsky, along with Kathy Blythe and our wonderful guest, Dr. Alley, the pharmacist extraordinaire. So in the last segment, Dr. Alley, we talked about CBD, and we know everything about CBD. What's all the buzz about Delta 8? Can you tell us what that's all about, and what should we know about it?
Oh, John, we ended, I think, the last segment with, wow, there's this misconception in the legal, and that's confusing. Delta 8, that question's not completely answered yet. All right. I think that we have decided in Nebraska it's mostly legal, but I don't know that we actually have a definitive answer. Think about any 10-sided shape that you can think of. And if I put something on one of those corners and I say that corner is number 9, then I will have Delta 9 THC, which is the part of marijuana that gives you all of those marijuana feelings, the hallucinations, the out-of-body experience. Colors are more vivid, music sounds better. If I take that cork that I put on corner number 9 and I move it one corner over, then it's on corner number 8, right? So now I have Delta 8 tetrahydrocannabinol. That's the only difference. Is the cork on corner number 9 or is the cork on corner number 8? Well, in a number of laws, it says that the problem cannabinoid in marijuana is Delta 9 THC. And since the cork is not on number 9 anymore, it's now on number 8, some laws don't address it. And suddenly it becomes an argument between chemists, which would have to rank right up there with some of the most boring arguments ever. And I'm a pharmacist, right? I sort of dig this stuff, but I don't want to argue about what corner the cork is on. Honestly, I don't. But that's what the law is asking us to do. So Delta 8 tetrahydrocannabinol may or may not be legal. But assuming that it is legal and that you can purchase it, it is actually much more similar to the psychoactive piece of marijuana. It can give you some of those weird sort of tingly problems. It can cause memory loss. It can jeopardize your coordination. It can cause some amazing dry mouth if you were to use too much of it, either through edibles or through some other mechanism. It can cause severe vomiting that brings patients to hospitals because they just can't understand what's going on. Interestingly, it may also have some of the purported benefits of THC. That is, it may help a little with some forms of muscle spasms. It may be useful in treating some kinds of anxiety, although at the same time, it may induce other forms of anxiety. I think the part that is the most intriguing or maybe frightening about Delta 8 THC is that there are folks who think that is the fancy chemical name for CBD, and it isn't. And we don't want them to expect one group of results and get something completely different. The other thing, when I turn on my complete pharmacist brain, is that with CBD, we have a prescription drug and we have fabulous drug studies to rely on. When we look at Delta 8, we don't have nearly the research. We don't have an approved prescription drug. We have some synthetic cannabinoids, and we can make some assumptions. Certainly, we can expect that Delta 8 will increase appetite. I think the vernacular when I was in college was it gave you the munchies. And I think that is something that we can expect. I know that folks report that you get those unusual sensations, but at a much lower level than you ever did with Delta 9 THC, the standard for the defining the psychoactive pieces of marijuana. So this one's really interesting. I know that it is around. I know that it is being sold over the counter. And I know that all kinds of folks are still arguing about whether or not it's okay, whether it should be. I think the latest big ruling came from Texas. And interestingly, they said, yeah, I guess you're going to have to go ahead and sell it because we can't figure out where in our law it says you can't. So that's when we're going to stay tuned. I do have one warning, and that is we have seen a lot more Delta 8 oils on the market, and those are not intended to be smoked, toked, or vaped. And we know that heating those oils and smoking, toking, or vaping is causing severe lung damage. And we need to convince people not to light things on fire and inhale them that were never intended to be lit on fire or heated. You don't have to have a flame. Just don't heat them, inhale the vapors, because people are hurting their lungs and it's awful.
Wow, that's very enlightening. Thank you for that, Dr. Alley. We see that time is short and our list of everything we want to talk to you about is long. Let us shift gears a little bit. Is it true, or at least do we have a fighting chance if we took certain vitamins like maybe B, C, D, and zinc or something like that? There are those who say that that is immune boosting and could possibly help us in fighting off COVID from it ever happening in the first place.
I suspect that no, it is not preventative. But I also suspect that we have some amazing data about vitamin C. I mean, we can go all the way back to Linus Pauling, right? And there is some reason to believe that zinc, when used appropriately, is actually protective. It does stop some of the, in medicine we call them the oxidative processes that make inflammation worse. Can I ward off COVID? Absolutely, get vaccinated. That's how you ward off COVID. But if we're talking about using the vitamins and the trace minerals and those kinds of things to boost immunity, if it was going to boost immunity, that means that you probably have other problems too, right? That you need these chemicals to improve either on your diet or whatever. But can they enhance your existing immunity? Yes. I think that yes, they can. And more than that, now with zinc, you have to be careful about the dose. With the B vitamins, certainly vitamin C, you're going to be okay. And to get more vitamin D, put your face in the sun for 10 minutes a day and you will be astonished. It'll improve your mood, it'll improve your blood lipids, and it may help your immune system too.
Allie, can we take our last minute here to have you give us a brief summary of the best things we can do, remembering if we're taking a COVID test at home, how to make it be as accurate as possible?
Thing one, read the box, because not all COVID tests test for all variants. We know that right now, if you have COVID in Nebraska, the odds are very good that it is Omicron. There may still be some Delta variant around, but the old ones aren't around anymore. So read the box and make sure it's testing for what's actually in the community. Thing two, the at-home tests will tell you, am I testing somebody with symptoms or am I testing somebody without symptoms? Get the right box. And lastly, the vast majority of at-home tests will say, test now and test again in 36 hours for the absolute most accurate results. So do that.
So it's not a one-time deal, it's a two-time deal, is what you're saying.
Most of the tests are a 2-time deal. That's right, John.
And Dr. Alley, you are the real deal. Thank you so much for being with us today on the Aging Adventure. Please come back.
Absolutely. All you have to do is ask.
Every Saturday morning, we get together to talk about retirement life on the Aging Adventure. I'm Dale Johnson.